Three. Hi friends, welcome to another episode of Writers Connect. Today we have a renowned copywriter and marketing professional with us. He's Mr. Joby Joseph, popularly known as Brand Swamy. He is a seasoned storyteller, brand strategist, marketing and healthcare communication expert, and communication entrepreneur based in Kerala. With over 1.5 decades of experience, Brand Swamy Sir is a creative director who excels in creating intriguing changes to brands, organizations, operations, and products through transformative storytelling. He is currently the co-founder and chief communication officer at How Are You, as well as the CCO and founder of Out There Communications Private Limited. He has worked with prominent media houses and organizations such as All India Radio, Express Group, Malayala Manorama, GE, Samsung, BPL, Fortis Healthcare, Aster Healthcare, Medimix, and The Hindu. But what's most remarkable about him is his story. From his LinkedIn account, what I could gather, his journey from a newspaper boy to a failed farmer to a hitchhiker to a marketeer to an entrepreneur, a brand storyteller, is a fairy tale for all those who want to make it big in the advertising and marketing domain, notwithstanding their humble beginnings and shortcomings. So let us hear more from him. Dear Brand Swamy sir, thank you for agreeing to this interview. It's an
My
honor.
pleasure.
It's an honor to have you in this show. So, sir, your journey sounds so exciting and different. I'm sure it is different from, like, if I take a thousand of copywriters. So I think you will be one among all those 999 rest copywriters whose journey has been so phenomenal. So let's start from there. So, how a paper boy, a failed farmer, went on to be one of the top brand leaders in the country, sir? Please.
That's very quite interesting question to start with, Mr. Saurabh. So I recall my childhood. It's all about like I born and got up in Wayanad, a very rural part of Kerala, northern Indian state. So what happened is like my father was a farmer and he was a newspaper agent of a very famous Malayalam daily. So what happens in very early stage of my life, my father used to take me with him as a newspaper boy. So I would say when I was studying in the fifth standard and sixth standard, very early. So he wanted me to explore to life. So that is the one reason why he took me very early. And then what happened is that from the early years, I used to read a lot of newspapers as part of my job. It has nothing to do with my curiosity to learn or anything, but when I'm actually wrapping up papers very early morning, I would say 4:30 in the morning every day, I start reading many different newspapers in many different languages. So I have to distribute it. I have to circle around 15 to 16 kilometers to distribute these papers. It's a very rural area. Everybody doesn't read newspapers. And also in my place, like one home and between there are around 1 kilometer distance between two houses, nearby houses. So I have to cycle this 1 kilometer to get the next house where I want to give my newspaper. So this gives me early direction to the news industry. And by I'm studying like around ninth standard, I used to work for Malayala Manorama, one of the leading newspapers in Malayalam as a stringer for my region. I start writing primarily obituaries. When somebody dies in my region, there is a obituary page to which I write my column and I distribute. And then I start giving small stories. And parallelly, what happened because we are a farmers family. So I really loved farming those days, and I used to earlier days it was all about paddy fields. Okay, in Wayanad the name is derived from the colloquial usage of paddy. It is called Vayal, and it is called Vayalnadu, the land of paddy. But what happened in the late 19th, so what happened 1990s, what happened is that the paddy fields become non-profitable. As in Kerala in the late 1990s, the farming industry, agriculture industry becomes more of a non-profitable business. So what happened is that we all shifted from paddy fields to banana cultivation. So what happened, banana cultivation was very profitable those days, and always ginger. And we used to cultivate a lot of ginger nearby, like in Wayanad and the Coorg district of Karnataka. That is a very adjacent to. Care Vineyards landscape. So we used to do a lot of cultivation. So I started farming in very early stage of my life. But I was a good student. My father wanted me to do some Medicare or engineering. But by the time I had a feeling that it is not my cup of tea. Okay. One reason it is not about I don't want to be a doctor, but I always really fear about surgeries and I don't want to do cutting of human bodies. And then I fought with my father. I told him that I want to be a journalist and I don't want to be a science student. But my father was adamant that if you want to choose it, you choose it in the later stage of your life, and I studied science. And after science, I realized that okay, it is not my cup of tea, and I moved to English literature. I did an English literature when I joined a very prominent college in the northern part of Kerala. And after the first year exam, I realized that my English was poor because I'm coming from a Malayalam school and I didn't have any exposure to English, even the basics of English grammar and literature. So what happened after the first year of literature? I have seen that I was getting 9 marks out of 100, and I realized that my God, it is I'm going to fail the main and general English altogether. So I failed first year. Then after the first year, it was a shock, and there was two. I was in two minds: should I shift from English to some other topic like history or humanities, or should I continue as trying to study English? Then what I did after the this shock, I came out of the shock and I decided that even if I fail after 3 years, okay, it is okay to be failed. So what I went to the library. It is around there are around 1 lakh plus books in the library of this college. So I told my teachers there is no point in sitting in the class because I'm not understanding anything. You are teaching all in English. I'm not following you. I can't write a single sentence without grammar. Yeah, so what I did is I went to the library. I started, I first tried to read poem because I looks like a very small thing so that I can read and understand. But after reading some poems, I realized that, oh God, it is not my cup of tea again. I couldn't read and understand what this Keats and Eliot is speaking about. So I skipped and I started with novels. Okay, again, it was not easy to understand an English novel at that point of time because my English was so poor. What I did finally, I started reading drama. Okay, I started reading the 20th century dramas like Look Back in Anger or Glass Menagerie. I started reading a lot of dramas. It is conversation, so I could actually track. So I keep reading every day. 2 o'clock, I wake up. I read till 6 to 7. I take a small break. I by 9 o'clock I go back to the library again and I start reading because this is the only thing I could do. Okay, it was a boys' college, so there was no other fun also except some political things and some speaks and public speaking events. So by the time I came out of the degree classes, I was good. I was a topper in the college. I could write, but my speaking language was really bad though. But I could write. I could write in my own way. Okay, I don't say I can write the way people think that is good a piece of writing, but I could write small sentences, which I studied from my very early stage, how to write a small sentence. So I was becoming, confident that I could write small sentences. And I passed out of the degree classes. Then I moved to journalism. And that is a turning point in my life. When I moved to journalism, I got out of the 20 students of my class, 17 of them were out of Kerala. So I had no option but to speak in English because everybody speaks Hindi. I don't know Hindi. Everybody speaks English. I don't know. I can't. I don't have a confidence to speak English. But by the time, by the 10 months course, by the time I completed my postgraduate, journalism, I could actually speak a little bit of English. That gives me a huge confidence. And I pass out again as a topper in the journalism class, and that was a big boost in my life because I have come out a phase where I could, I had to stop everything and I had to drop out the school. From there, I become the topper in the journalism class. I got campus placement in Manorama. We had around 10-15 lakhs of copies. I became a part of the editorial team. And really, what happened to me is that I was passionate about doing reporting, feature writings, and stuff. I started writing features. I got some good opportunity to write features. But in between, my boss decided that to send me to a failing organization of the institute. So then send me to a career magazine, which is Manorama is, if you know, Manorama is leading in every sector. They were, running a business. They have a weekly, which is the top in India that time. They have the week that time. That was also leading, after Outlook those days. And but finally, I was sent to an organization which has been failing for a very long time. We were second in the market, and we were just selling 33,000 copies that time. And it was a shock to me. What a person like me, a creative writer, to do with a career magazine. It was, I wanted to resign that day. After reaching, I got that transfer letter in my hand. I went to the senior, I went to the boss and asked, "Sir, what am I supposed to do there?" Then he asked me, "Joby, this is an opportunity. See it as an opportunity and do something." Then I went there. I realized that there are 9, 10 people. I am the only senior person. I am the only full-time employee with the organization. I was getting an opportunity to lead a team. So I started reading. Why are we failing? This is a question that comes to my mind. Then after a few months, I realized that why we were failing, because we were giving wrong information. Okay. So for example, I can tell you a very simple example. If you want to apply to UPSC, there is a code to be written on the envelope, over the envelope. But what happened is, my junior writers, whoever writes it, they skip this particular information. They do everything perfect except this particular information they don't pass it. Then I realized that we need to. That is where I learned the accuracy of code. That is the primary rule I learned from them. Why are we skipping the most important element of a communication when we are writing for an audience who is eager and who is looking, buying this product for the future? So the first rule that I take, I have started checking each and every line written by my juniors in the office, and I started shifting it. And then I realized that to increase the copy, to get the credibility, this may help, but a long run. But how do I increase the copies, faster? So I started looking my competitor. I realized that they were all dealing with government jobs. Okay, as you know, Kerala is an economy which is driven by the NRI population, NRI money. Money comes from the Gulf region those days and the UK region those days. And I realized that there is nobody is catering to that market. So we started a column for the jobs in abroad. And we started parallelly. I realized that that is a time that the globalization happened, the economy is booming, the private sector is booming, the smart cities and Cochin economic zones, free economic zones are growing in the market. So I realized that lakhs and lakhs of people are applying to this particular industry. So I started exploring. I go to places. I start to identify where is opportunities in this free zones, what is the job opportunities in this free zones, and we started a column in that side, and people started buying this magazine to actually read these opportunities. The competitors never give this opportunity, so they start reading this, buying this extra piece of copy to check what is happening in the NRI market, what is happening in the rural market. So this kind of innovation helps the product to, in 6 months, 7 months time, we started growing 2x because of this particular piece of information. It was a really, really wonderful life in my it's a turning point in my life. This is the only time I realized that we can transform an organization with creative thoughts. Till that point of time, my writing is all about writing features, writing beautifully, writing crafts, writing good copies. But at that point, I realized that, oh God, this is not like that. It's a totally different purpose of writing. So I take this as a first lesson in my life. After 6 months, when we were doing good, my boss again told me, "Joby, you come back. There is a division that is starting in the digital side. We are starting an online magazine. So you come and join the online side." And I have been asked by boss to do research on what is happening in US online sites, what kind of a content structure they are doing. Again, it was again a fun, because in the early 2000s, online magazines, online web scenes was not that familiar. So we started researching. My primary job is to give reports to my editorial bosses on what is happening in other geographical locations on this online sites. So this two learning, I have left this organization of just around 1.5 years. Immediately after my probation, I realized that if I stick here, it's a very secure job. Okay, I will be stuck here for next 15 years of my life. So better I should leave now. So one night I called my father and said, I'm going to resign from this organization. Father said, why? Man, this is an organization which is best in the market and you are getting all good salaries, wonderful salaries and stuff. So I said, it's not working for me for a long time. I quit and then I moved to English journalism. I work with sports primarily and business primarily those days. I got some opportunity to do wonderful pages those days. I realized that creativity in sports is very interesting. How to write a good copy, and I got some good bosses who can, who taught me how to make the millions of readers to engage, and some copies will start selling. So these two experiments in my life actually kickstart my life in the copywriting side. And in between, I tried for a copywriting, opportunities in some of the advertising companies, but everybody rejected me, saying the reason that Joby, we will take you as an intern. But I was earning good salary. I was by the time I was an assistant editor with a very famous newspaper. Then why should I go and join as an advertising company as an intern? They are telling me that I don't have an experience. I thought, what is experience? Experience is all about is the what I learned in my life for the last 20 years. I have learned many things. I know how to write. I know how to engage people, be it on newspaper, be it anyone. So I decided that I'm quitting journalism. I quit and I come back and I started. And me parallelly, what happened is one of my friends called me, Joby. I wanted to start a magazine in medical radiology. Okay, interesting. I asked, what is medical radiology? Medical imaging. What is medical imaging? I didn't have any clue because I was not exposed to healthcare those days. And I started. I told him, yes, we will do. Why not? I'm quitting the job. I will do for you. Then he called me for a meeting. Joby, this is the target audience. We have around 40,000 gynecologists in India. There are around 12,000 radiologists in India. There are around 500 to 600 semi people. That means the emergency medicine specialists in India. Then there are ultrasound, specialists, all the fetal medicine specialists. I said, okay, wonderful. And he told me, Joby, I have a database around 1 lakh of these doctors. This is where I want to sell my magazine. And he asked me, Joby, how do we make it profitable? I told him very open, you have to spend 2 lakh, 3 lakh rupees a month to make this possible. And you will not be successful. It's not going to be profitable. It's not going to be viable. Because whatever studies I have done, I realized that it is not going to be viable unless and until we start getting advertised. And I took this challenge. I told him very clearly, sir, I don't look at the marketing because I was not experienced in marketing those days. But I will help you bring out one of the best magazines in India. Then we started this magazine called Color Doppler in 2012. As he was the owner, and I was just an editorial consultant working for 2 to 3 hours a day. Many times I don't come to the office. I hired a few people who is handling the day-to-day jobs. Then we launched this magazine. We launched it, beautifully, and it started. By the 3 months time, it has actually started making a noise in the market. This particular market, because it is first of India's medical imaging magazine. I did a lot of research to bring in new information to the doctors community. I started researching on medical side. So my team has done a good job. It becomes a popular name in the market. And by 4 to 5 months, we realized that we have lost all the money that we had in our bank account, and we are about to close. By the time I have around 8, 10 members in the team. So one day, the boss who was running the show, who was the owner of the company, told the staff that, okay, I'm going to stop this because I don't have any more money to spend. All my money is gone. Okay, then I said, okay, I don't have anything to do because I'm just a consultant. I don't have any role. I don't even work with my team full time. But what happened that night is actually changed my life forever. So that night, one of my staffs who was with me from day one, that is September 2011, she was actually handling this account from a business perspective. She called me one night and one evening and said, I want to meet you. I said, okay, why not? I'm free today. I'll meet you. Then I came back to the office. We had a drink, we had a tea, and then we discussed. Okay. Then she said, Joby, why don't you? I will help you to business it. Why don't you take it over? I asked her, I don't have any previous experience in marketing. I don't have any previous experience in business. I'm just an editorial person. I just how to write copies. She said, Will you try? The next day, she called me for a team meeting. In the team meeting, the entire team was asking me, Joby, you should not leave us. It's like we did a good job. We made a market, then you should not quit. I said, okay, I will try. Then I went to the boss and I talked to him. This is the condition. You take me as a partner. Give me 51% of the stake. I will, and I don't want any more money with you, but keep your percentage stake with you. But I will try to revamp the organization. So I shifted the business into communication. So this magazine becomes an advertising platform for me. I started building connects. That is the only reason why I keep going for another 2.5 years. Then I start building connects. Then parallelly, I start pitching with medical organizations for their events and communications. So I have to remember one name, Dr. Professor Chandralula. He's a very famous radiologist in Bombay. One day he called me for a meeting. Yes, Joby, we are planning to bring out a magazine of ultrasound organization. I said, that's nice, I'll take over it. So from there, I started running many medical magazines for the different organizations. I would say IRIA and stuff. So it started giving me business. When I started getting this particular client base, because there are premium doctors in the market, all this medical equipment companies start looking at me. This person is important. This organization is important to communicate with doctors because very difficult to get an appointment with doctors, but I can get it anytime. So they see it as an opportunity to reach these doctors. Rather, they don't want my editorial skills, but they want my skills to reach these people. They started giving me opportunity. Joby, you bring out newsletters for us. You write our product manifestations for them. So I started writing copies for them. And that way, I started getting BPL Medical Technologies. Later, I started getting GE as my client. I started working with Samsung Medical Equipments and during the early years of their starting. And one day they said, Joby, we are really love to see how we can work together in bringing out a call center to talk to our doctors. I found it interesting. Again, it's not my cup of tea, but still an opportunity to make money. So I start something called CDDC, where I start talking to this doctor directly, and then based on the discussion, I started market research, and then I started bringing out content for this particular audience based on this inputs. So it started giving me a good round of business. And by the time Color Doppler was one of the premium content marketing companies in the state, in the country. And parallelly, I started, I expanded to the Middle East market with healthcare professionals. Then, by the time, brands like Fortis started approaching me for their communication. So I found it interesting. I started there, Aster comes to me for their, patient communication channels. So I backed in this kind of accounts, one of the premium accounts like Fortis. By the time I was having premium accounts in my account. So it's actually started my copywriting career. So I came to copywriting through business. It's not the other way. My copies sold me across India, and it started giving me a good healthcare client base. In 2015, what I found an opportunity. We are restricted to healthcare. Color Doppler is doing good business. We are having office in Bombay. We are having office in Chennai. We are handling some of the key accounts by the time. I started thinking of why don't we think about FMCG, because people see me as a healthcare expert, but for me healthcare is just I learned it by doing it. So I thought, why don't we start something? That is where I started out there communication in 2015, looking at the FMCG markets and other consumer markets. So I started working with Malabar Gold those days. Malabar Gold, you must be knowing, it's one of the premium brands in the global jewelry space. So we started working with Malabar, and we started with Medimix. Then later we started working with Paytm for their customer communication kind of a client base, and that way we started growing. By 2020 we realized that our creative agencies are doing good. We have a good volume of business. We have a good team. But by 2020 I realized that there is a gap between the client and the creative agency. So this client is delaying the process. It is affecting the overall growth. Parallelly, I also started realizing that creativity can be used to growth. So by 2020, I started something called Brand Swamy Growth Consulting. It's actually started in 2021 after doing research in 2020. We started getting good clients globally. So Brand Swamy is launched. Now Brand Swamy is actually a brand working in growth consulting areas where we are looking at transforming brand through creative communication. Let's suppose we have a 15,000 employees in an organization. All 15,000 employees are not connected within the organization. For many of the global organizations, I'm not talking about small organizations. And primarily now I work with family-owned global organizations. Maybe six countries, 7 countries, 7 continents presence, but they are all family-owned. So how to transform a family-organized, family-owned company to a global space with creativity? So that is where we have been working in the last 3 to 4 years. So what I want to tell is my journey from a newspaper boy to a copy journalist to a farmer. I have realized that creativity is not limited to writing an advertising piece. It can impact, it can create impacts in any spectrum of life, and it can transform the companies to different levels. So that is where we are working now, and that is where I'm really finding it happy. With a copy we are growing company. With a copy we are transforming an organization. With a copy we are improving the sales of an organization. So that is quite an interesting aspect of copywriting. So that is the journey that I have been for the last, I would say, 15 years or something.
Oh, what a journey, sir! What a journey, sir! I think this video about your experience is too much for our viewers, our audience to take in. So, sir, I also got a notification that this meeting is going to end soon. So I think I have a series of questions, like more five, 6 questions. So we'll do it in the second part. And for
Sure.
this meeting, for this session, your journey, I mean, viewers who come to this particular interview will take away your journey as an inspiration. Like from a
Right.
journal, from working in the Manorama paper to this, I mean, it has been a phenomenal journey. So I think I should. This is a part one of this podcast of this interview, and viewers who are interested to know more about your journey will have to go to the second part, sir. So thank you very much,
Sure.
and
Thank
I'm
you.
just mind boggled to know about this journey, sir.
Thank
So
you so much.
viewers, please, if you like this interview, do stay tuned and we'll meet on the other side next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.